Do you have an old door that's ugly, out of date, or just not working? Has your neglected pet tried to chew its way through your door and back into your heart? Well, if you need to replace a door, whether it's broken or whether you're just updating your house and doing a renovation, I can show you how to quickly and easily replace these doors for not that much money out of pocket. Let's turn this into this. Let's go! So the first thing you're going to want to do is head up to your favorite Lowe's, Home Depot, or if you're from the Midwest, your favorite Menards, and go pick up a door. I chose this classy craftsman design. It adds a little bit of character and fits in with the house that we're renovating. So do that, set that down on your sawhorse, then take your old door and set it on top. This is going to be your template to make sure that you get your hinges and your doorknob properly located. Once you have your doors aligned, you're going to want to take a speed square like this and line it up with the edge of the hinges. We're going to make a mark because that's where the new hinges are going to be cut. Make sure you take your time and do that carefully. This is a very critical step. So now that we have those marks there, I'm just going to make a little scribe mark here to show me which way the hinge is going to be cut when I go ahead and do that. I've got a router jig, so I'm not real worried about getting these lines perfect. I just need to know which way to align it. Let's go ahead and move on down the line and do the other two. While you've got the door here, go ahead and pick up your hole saw and make a mark where the doorknob goes. Now that you've got that marked, you can get the old door out of the way and get to work on the new door. Go ahead and finish that doorknob hole. Once the pilot bit here starts to stick through the bottom end, flip that door over and start cutting from the other side. That'll prevent tear out. All right, the bit's starting to poke through there. Let's flip that door over. I've got my spot here where that pilot hole started to poke through, so I'm going to put that pilot hole back there and just finish this hole out. There's your doorknob hole. All right, now that the doorknob hole is complete, it's time to drill the other hole for the striker. I've used this jig before. It's really great. They're pretty cheap. You can get them just about anywhere. If you don't have one of these, you can just measure. Make sure that this other hole is centered on the doorknob as well as centered side to side on the door. So let's go ahead and put that on and get it done. If you're into riding horses or motorcycles, this is going to be great for you. Get comfortable sitting on a door because it really is the easiest way to work along the edges. So let's get this lined up here. We'll get that into place. And now there's this hole on top that shows me exactly where to drill with this smaller hole saw here. Perfect. Go ahead and place your hardware into the door handle here and mark it because we're going to chisel out that wood so that this striker can lay flat. All right, we've got our mark there. Go ahead and take a 1-inch chisel, flat side to the outside. Go ahead and strike each edge. That'll give you a nice crisp line to work with. Start removing material. Got a little crazy on that one. That's better, nice and clean. Check periodically to make sure that you've got the right depths. And once you've got the right depth, you're ready to go. Okay, so here's the fun part. Remember how we made some marks for those hinges? Well, if you want, you can use a router guide. This was about 15 bucks. I'll put a link for it in the show notes below so you can find it for yourself online. But all we're going to do is line this up with our marks. We're going to set it with a screw here. We're going to take that screw. Now we're ready to use a router to cut those hinges out. So this is great. It's really easy. If you don't want to pay for that, you can certainly use a chisel and cut it out. But I like the nice rounded curves that this gives. The jig also comes with a router bit here. So it's got this bearing that's going to spin on the guide and make real quick work of this. So let's go ahead and get this hinge cut. And there you have it, a nice, beautiful, rounded hinge inset. That's perfect for installing our doors. So let's go ahead and get this thing painted and put into place. If you're replacing your hinges, go ahead and screw them into the door frame. For the top hinge, go ahead and pull this pin, and you want to install the other side of the hinge onto the door. That's going to make it easier to install. So otherwise you have to hold the door, you have to hold your drill, you have to hold the screw, and it gets a little tough by yourself. So do yourself a favor, install the other side onto the door. That way you can just line up the hinge and drop the pin. Alright, so we've got that hinge lined up. Drop the pin in. And now that the door is hanging, we can install the other hinges onto the door side. Now the reason I don't install all of the hinges on the door side, because when you've cut these hinges, you've done it from a template, and there's a small chance that one of those hinges is going to be off slightly. Now the nice thing about these hinges, the screws, they're self-centering, so if you need to make any minor adjustments, you're not going to be able to move it too much. But if you need to move that hinge up maybe a millimeter up or down, you can put the screw offset into the hole and then force it where it needs to go. So I find it's a little bit better to install the top one on the door, get that hung, and then install here while the hinge is on the frame. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we'll get this lined up. Lucky for me, I already got the hinges cut and they line up pretty well. So let's go ahead here. Hinge is going to pull in nice and tight. There you go. All right, time to install the door hardware. So let's start with the striker here. So we're going to slide that into place and get it screwed in. Once that's secure, go ahead and slide the handle through that hardware there and on the other side. And there are two screws that hold it on the back, on the front side here. So two screws there. Let's go ahead and get those put in as well. I'm going to get them started by hand. Sometimes these are a little tricky. There we go. And then finish it up with the drill.